Welcome this afternoon, everybody, to the Built to Exit Masterclass series. Today, on this sunny, beautiful day in Michigan, finally getting some nice weather, less rain if you are in the state of Michigan. If you're not, hopefully you're getting some great weather. So, first of all, I would like to welcome back all participants or attendees that have been to our Built to Exit Masterclass in prior months. I'm glad that you found some valuable information here. If you are new to the Built to Exit Masterclass, we want to welcome you to it, and we'll get into a brief explanation as to what we do and why we do it, and hopefully that'll help you attend a few more. So this series is designed to certainly guide and educate business owners like yourselves in preparing your business for a transition, and that transition can really be anything except an initial public offering. Certainly that's not what we do, and certainly that's a different conversation to have when you're looking to do an initial public offering. But if you're looking to transition or selling it to a strategic buyer or an investor, you're looking to generationally transfer it to either the second, third, fourth, or beyond generation. You're looking to do a management buyout, an ESOP, or a private equity sale, or you're just not sure, you need to find out which path you should take, then this is a great place for you to be at, because you'll get tons of information. You can ask some Q&A, and that should be very, very helpful for you. So hopefully that helps you get a pretty good idea if you are new to what we have here and what we offer. So a couple things I'd like to share with you as a group that I have experienced over the last 2 decades or so in doing exit planning. There's always a couple of themes whenever you do anything, in 2 main things or 3 main themes in a lot of cases. And what we see here from our exit planning journeys is that we see a lot of businesses across the country and here in the great state of Michigan that are very dependent on the owner. There was a study I read years ago that they had mentioned that at least 80% of privately held businesses in the United States are dependent on the owner for the manufacturing or the delivering of the services of the organization and for the finances inside of the organization. And so what that tells us is that the owner is either, if you're a service company, then you're the one providing the service, excuse me, and if you're manufacturing, construction, or some other type that you're delivering a product of some kind, that you're the main driver of that revenue. So that's dependent upon you, and without you there as the owner, then that revenue, let's just say, doesn't exist as well as it, or it's at more risk. And so owners or buyers, whether it's your kids, someone that your company wants to buy, or anybody else I had mentioned before, people are looking to really buy a system. They're looking, and you're going to hear that theme throughout today's conversation for the next 27 minutes, is you're going to be systems, processes, and certainly, you have to be able looking at vision. What is your overall vision for the overall company? And what we don't want it to be is reliant on one person, because then if that person is no longer there, then where does the revenue go? And it's really hard to replicate that. So no matter what your transition would be, it could be next to impossible to really kind of find that out. And some other challenges that we see is really, what are your SOPs when you're looking at an organization? And how do you make sure that even when as employees come and go, whether through retirement or just attrition, how do you make sure that the next group of people really understand what their roles are and how to do them and do them efficiently? So keep that in mind as we're talking through the day today, and hopefully that will help. A few house cleaning comments I would like to make. This is really designed for you, the owner. So feel free to ask questions. Up in the top of your Teams meeting, there is a chat box. Feel free to open the chat box if you want to ask a question. I'll see it in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer the question. If we don't get time to answer the question today, we promise you that we will answer the question in the recording. And when Brandy gets done editing everything from my mistakes and whatnot, then we'll send that out, which will be a couple of days, and we'll put the answers to those questions certainly in there and make sure that you get those along with everybody else. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. And so question is, do you own a business or do you just have a job with some overhead? Interesting question here, right? May challenge you a lot as to, well, what the heck is he talking about? And what are we trying to accomplish with this conversation? A business can really be a job for a lot of business owners. And when I say that is they're really taking the income out of the business and they're using the lion's share, if not all of the income as much as possible to subsidize their lifestyle. That's exactly what they're doing, right? In a nutshell. And so when you're taking a look at a business, you have to take a look at, at the end of the year or how quarterly or monthly, what are we going to be doing with our profits and how much of those profits do we reinvest inside the company? Certainly, like I had mentioned when we first started off, how much of this business is really dependent upon you, the owner, and driven? Like, do you make all the decisions? Do you not allow other people to make those decisions? So the other part of this is your overall financial picture and how you may want to look at that a little bit differently. There's a little study that we have up here is like 60 to 90% of business owners have their net worth tied up in their business. So you have to ask yourself the question, we're not financial planners, but we take a look at this to say, well, if you have even 50% or 40% of your business net worth tied up there in a hard asset, which is not a tradable security, basically, then how do you unwind all that and put it into liquid cash at some point so that you can maintain or increase your standard of living once you choose no longer to be there, or just, if you can't no longer do the work that you have there. So I think it's important as business owners to make sure that you're not only addressing the business as itself, and then you're also addressing your personal side of like, how does this help me? How does my business help me build my net worth over a period of time so that I can confidently make the decision to transition out of the business and do it at a time where I still have a fair amount of energy to move forward and do the things that I want to do. So we'll continue this conversation as we go out through today, but just wanted to start something and really get you thinking about where are you today in the business. And so the main question is, have you considered how much of your net worth is tied up in your business that can't run without you? And so just kind of keep that in mind. You might want to write that question down and give you something to think about once we get through today. So a little bit about us. I'll put it up here on the screen. You could certainly read through what that is. I've been working in businesses for a long time. I had a business prior to starting Prometis Partners. It was very successful. I was starting to get a little bit burned out, and a friend of mine basically told me that he thought I should sell the company, and so I did. I did a insider partner transaction. And it worked out very well for both parties. It certainly worked out for me, and it worked out for them too. At the time, we got one of the highest multiples in the industry at that particular time. They're probably a little bit higher now, at least I would suspect from what I can tell that they are. But, as growing up, right, if I go way back to being a lot younger than what I am now, though I'm not that young, is my father had a couple of businesses. He worked for a privately held business. My uncles and aunts and different family members all had businesses in various industries, manufacturing, construction, restaurant. I'd call a couple of them retail businesses and whatnot. But they were all pretty successful businesses. And certainly as someone, young teenager, and even before teenager, you're not really comprehending what's going on, but you kind of see what they're doing, and those things kind of stick in the back of your head as you're growing up and you can see it. And that's what helps drive me when I'm out here today, helping you, the business owner, being able to not only transition out of the business, but to monetize the value, what we call the full value of the organization when you get ready to transition out and use that money the way that you would like. So This is just some information on us, what we've done over time. Hopefully that's helpful for you. And let's get talked on our topic, which is why you're here, is defining your goal. Which variable is really kind of holding you back, right? Which is time freedom. So a question I'd like you to think about is, have you ever thought about what freedom is to you and what does it look like? How much time do you put into the business every week? Are you a 40-hour business owner? Are you a 70-hour business owner? Or are you a 15-hour business owner? Because time is freedom. You've probably heard about the analogy of, I'm working in my business, I'm not working on the business. And that's what helps you to take a business from a lifestyle business to an asset producing business where it's generating revenue even without you being there. And so you have to make sure that you're taking a look and you're paying close attention to, where do I spend my time and how can I make sure that my time is on the high level vision within the organization and what I want to do personally with my life. If I had a nickel, right? We've heard this saying, more than we care to count. If you had a nickel for every time that you just kind of went through and just said, gee, if I knew that years ago, I'd be a millionaire, right? And so you have to be willing to give up some of the control in your business, or what we call, you have to empower your people to be able to understand and get them to do what they need to do and maximize their abilities. And that helps you also with your culture, and it helps you with less turnover in your business. The next one we're going to talk about is financial freedom. We chatted about that a bit in the opening slide or so. And that is something that, whether you do investing or planning on your own, or you have a wealth manager that helps you with that, you need to make sure, like, how much of your lifestyle could you maintain currently if you didn't get any money for your business, could you maintain the current lifestyle that you have without going into your organization every day? If the answer is no, then you're falling somewhere within that 60 to 90% of your net worth is the business. It's a hard asset. It's a non-tradable security, basically. And how do we unlock that equity? Because it's probably the largest equity piece that you potentially have in your portfolio. And exiting out of your business, in most cases, according to the Exit Planning Institute, will be the largest transaction that you ever make when you get ready to go. So when you sell your business, that's usually the largest transaction that you will do. And then the impact. What kind of an impact do you really want to make in the business? What type of impact do we want to make inside of your community, right? Your business is in a community, small or large. It has an impact, and without your business being in that community, it has a financial impact. There was a study done, and we wrote a white paper and a blog on it. I think it was a blog, excuse me, that really took a look at the community impact when a business shuts down or is moved out of community. And I believe that the minimum, and I mean very minimum, if your company only does like $1 million a year of business and you got like 10 employees or something like that, then there would be about a $200,000 per year reduction in just spendable revenue in the community. Certainly the larger the organization, the larger that number is going to be. So how do you want to be perceived in the community? Is like, how does that make an impact, and how does that move you forward for what you want to accomplish? So let's talk now a little bit about your team and how they can multiply. And let me give everybody a reminder based on when we started everything today is, again, if you want to put in a question inside the chat box, please feel free to do so. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I just didn't want anybody to forget about that. Leadership teams are critical. They drive a ton of revenue for an organization. A stat from the Scorecard Collaborative stipulates that if you have a collaborative leadership team, you should be able to experience about a 25% increase in operational efficiency. A leadership team should be able to help you make decisions, execute initiatives, help you to build and create and your culture of one that is really, empowering, that they come to work, that they want to be there, that they enjoy being in there. I understand they're going to have good days and bad days, but ultimately you want them to have significantly more good days than you do bad days. Whenever we go into an organization, I will tell every owner, you'll either have really good culture because you have good ownership and some pretty good leadership, whether that's 2 leadership people or 12 or 15. If you have bad leadership, it's because it's usually coming from the owner or it's coming from the leadership or a combination of both. So when we take a look at some of the statistics and you're looking at a 25% increase in operational efficiency, I want you to think about that in the sense of how does that impact the value of cash flow that you have every single year. So let's take a minute and just think about that. 25% more efficiency would get me how much more net profit at the end of the year? It doesn't happen overnight. So you can't leave this masterclass and say, hey, we're going to turn on and we're going to get 25% more efficiency by the end of the year. You got to start chipping away at that at 0.5% or 1% over a period of time. Once every 6 months or every year, you just continually get more and more operational efficiency. But I think when you have a really good team around you, they're going to help you to get that efficiency, and they're going to build and maximize the abilities of not only themselves, but all of your employees as you kind of go through that process. Excuse me, sorry. So if we're looking to build a business that goes without you, the owner, what we're really trying to accomplish is that the business you don't have to be there every day. You don't have to make decisions all the time. They're not coming to you to figure out, hey, what should we do here or what should we do there? So the slide before was talking about leadership, and if they can make those type of critical thinking decisions and you have empowered them to do so, then you are going to create a business that will run without you. It doesn't mean you're not there. It doesn't mean that you're not impacting the business, because you are. It's just that your time is now going to be focused on the vision of the organization. You are the person that's sitting up and you're looking at everything, and you're really kind of directing and asking questions and challenging your team as they go through what they do to be able to execute and really create even more, faster and better, whether it's a service or it's a product that you're kicking out there at a much higher rate. This also, as a business owner, should give you a lot more energy. Certainly, along with the profits and whatnot that should come with that, it should give you a ton of energy, a lot more happiness, and hopefully a lot more clarity as to what does this look like for you down the road. And again, also gives you the opportunity to say, hey, where do I really want to take this next, right? We always talk with owners about what is your capacity, right? If we're doing either 5 million or 50 million, where do we really want to be at? Like, do we want to double or triple our workforce, or do we just want to try to go from 5 million to 7 million and we're comfortable there? And how do we become even more profitable and more efficient as we go through that? And so when you're looking at your business and you're creating an environment that not only is not focused on you, then I think it really does help the business kind of unlock its full potential and allow it to get to where you really want to go. So hopefully that gives you some additional clarity as you kind of go through that. One other thing I would like to talk about here is certainly the business is an engine, right? good privately held businesses can generate some very, very strong cash flow. We have seen them, $1 million companies that generate really good cash flow. I've seen, 3 million, $30 million companies that run some really good cash flow. And I've seen some companies that generate $1 million of gross revenue, and they're not really making any money or not making that much money because they're not very efficient. And so we have to take a look at, one, efficiencies, but how can we create a business that is really an engine for you to also build long-term wealth? And how do you do that? And what are some good strategies that you can implement to make sure that you're not dependent on the sale or the transaction of this business to get all your money? We do a ton of family transitions here at Prometis Partners. It's not all we do, but we tend to do a lot of them. Not that we're looking for them; they come to us that way. And ultimately, a lot of them, excuse me, a lot of them are really mom and dad or grandma and grandpa are really the bank. They're the ones taking the money off. And part of that is because they're just choosing not to force the kids to go to the bank and get the loan. But ultimately they need the income for a longer period of time. And so we have to take a look at, how do you build net worth and how do you get this business to really move and generate cash flow on a regular basis so that you don't have to work that 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and just kind of move it forward and go from there. So how long can you take a vacation, right? How long can you really, I think we really just need to make sure that you can take the proper amount of time off and you can do the things that need to be done that are going to make sure that you're not overworked, right? If you don't take 30 days off here, 20 days off here, 10 days off here, certainly everybody gets burned out. At some point you just kind of hit the wall. Owners that we have at some point, they're probably working 15, 20 hours tops. They're taking 8 to 12 weeks a year to be able to get away with their families, their spouses, and do things. And then they come back and they have more energy, making sure that they can stay in the business and keep things moving. So keep that in mind. When was the last time you really took a vacation? Now, when I mean a vacation, no calls are being answered, no emails are being answered. That organization will run without you being there. There's a lot of owners will say to me, well, I took 2 weeks off, though I had my laptop with me so I could communicate with clients. I said, well, that's not a vacation. That's just you going to a different location and working. So how do you decompress? How do you leave it over there on the shelf, let the other people do what they need to do, and then you just kind of move on down the road and things will work out. So keep that in mind as you're going through and doing what needs and doing and moving your business forward. So again, you need to have your systems in place. Certainly that helps you to get freedom. That's going to help you to build value. And then certainly it's going to create better teams that you have inside of your organization to be able to make and execute those decisions. Excuse me. So you're not, as the slide says, you're not just building a business, you're building a legacy. And legacy means different things to different people. To simplify this slide for everybody, I think legacy can be one of two things or both. One, it could be that, hey, this is my legacy. I'm going to transfer it down to the kids. Number two, which is what I think it really is the legacy within your community. Every business does have some form of a legacy of it's provided jobs, which provide income, which provide spendable, income, discretionary income within the community and around the country and whatnot. So we don't think that your business is your legacy to your children or your grandchildren. We think you are the legacy to your children or grandchildren, the relationships that you have with them. But if you do look at it that way, that's fine. Impact is really, what is your succession, your community, generational change? What is your wealth, right? How much transferable value do you really have inside of your company? What about equity? And what about your freedom of time and flexibility and whatnot? So you have to take a look at what all of those are to be able to put together a strategy to get you to what we call the finishing line. And they're all important, right? You have to make sure that you're looking at them. And this one down here at the bottom is this is critical, right? My drawing is atrocious, so forgive me. The impact. What are you doing for succeeding? And then when was the last time you really looked at your overall financial plan, and what does that really look like when you're going through? And then again, how much time do you really pay attention to how many hours you're really putting in and where you're spending your time? So, you got to keep all of those intact, and you got to keep them in front of you in order to make sure that you're running a business that becomes an asset and you can continue to move it forward. So we're going to kind of start to wrap up here over the next 3 or 4 minutes that we have with you today. And again, we really do appreciate you spending time. We know that this is a short 30 minutes, but we intentionally did it for 30 minutes because we know that you as business owners don't have a ton of time. Here is our contact information. If you scan the QR code, that will give you my business card and calendar. If you'd like to at least schedule a brief phone call with us to have an additional conversation, we certainly would enjoy that and invite you to go ahead and schedule that call, because we think it would be helpful. Even if you're not ready at this moment, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. There's people that we talk to for a while before they really get ready. But I think it would be certainly be beneficial to get some additional information and maybe some clarity on some steps that you could take right now to put you in a better situation. And then certainly, if you're really interested to find out from a high level where your business stands today, this QR code here is a way for you to get a snapshot as to where is your business right now. And if you're looking to make a decision then about transitioning out of your business, then this will give you a very high view of where are you and how much work might need to be done to get you through the process to be able to accomplish the objectives that you're looking to accomplish. So I'd urge you to take your phone out and just get your camera up, and you can scan that QR code. It'll pop up on the phone or whatever. Or if not, if you want to take the information from the previous slide and email over, be happy to send it to you, and you can complete it that way, whichever works out better for you. Lastly, we do these every other month, and so the next one is going to be on October the 9th at 1:00 Eastern time, and we're going to be digging into profit on paper, the chaos in reality, what your financials aren't telling you. And so that's kind of an extension to what we're talking about today. Do you own a job, basically, or do you have an asset? I want to kind of close out here over the last couple of minutes to really look at what some of the statistics are when you're looking at selling a business. Is only 20% of businesses really sell when they go to market. And there's reason for that, because they're just not ready. So let me just go ahead and answer this question. Let me take a read it. In your experience, what's the biggest mindset shift owners need to make a move from owning a job? Yeah, that's a great question. What a fantastic question that is. I'm going to say it's empowering your people. I think one of the biggest decisions that you can make to be able to do this is you're hiring employees. Whether you have 5 employees, 50 or 500, there's always going to be a group or 1 or 2 of those people that kind of raise to the top above everybody else. And even though you may not have an official leadership team, you rely on this person, and you need to empower them to be able to make decisions, create some expectations for them. And certainly we always say track some metrics so you know what there is working, and you communicate, because remember, what you start off with, you may have to, I'm just gonna say, you may stumble through a little bit until you get it right. And it's quite all right. It happens all the time. We do it here when we're trying to put new SOPs or do stuff together, but you're not going to stumble that far. You're going to be pretty close on top of it, but empower your people, have conversations with them, tell them what you're trying to accomplish and get their feedback. And I bet you'll find out that it frees up some of your time and you can really create more of an asset generating business versus a job. And if you have more questions on that, again, reach out and have a phone call. I'll be happy to chat with you about it and talk more in detail. So hopefully that gave you some great information. So we're going to close it out here. We are at 30 minutes. We like to keep it right there. Brandy gets a little upset with me if I don't close it out in 30 minutes. So we want to be respectful of everybody's time. We appreciate you being here today. Hopefully you got some great information out of it, and that you come back to our next session on October the 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And again, reach out and contact us anytime between now and then. Have a great day and a great week. Thank you.